Welcome back to Tonight on Breaking. It's now 12 weeks before the inauguration of the new president of our country, and INEC has officially declared Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the president-elect. As you all know, over the weekend on Saturday, Nigeria held general elections to vote for the president and members of the Senate and House of Representatives. The election was what you imagine a typical Nigerian election to be. Some INEC officials were late to their polling units. Some officials arrived at the polling units without their essential items. Thugs appeared in some polling units and destroyed ballot boxes. There was inadequate communication and transparency from INEC. There were instances of cancel on election result sheets and issues with the beavers machine, which meant many voters were disenfranchised. There were complaints of overvoting and falsified results, mostly coming from opposition parties. So, a typical Nigerian election. But despite all these, at about 4:10 a.m. on Wednesday, INEC announced Bola Tinubu as the president-elect. According to the tally, APC's Bola Tinubu won with over 8.7 million votes out of the 24 million total valid votes. PDP's Atiku was in second place with 6.9 million votes, while Labour Party's presidential candidates garnered 6.1 million. Before the final results were announced, former President Goodluck Jonathan, the poster boy for peaceful transition of power in Africa, led a delegation of the election monitoring team of ECOWAS to visit the presidential candidate to appeal for peace and calm and to use all available legitimate means to sort out their concerns and grievances. If you remember, after the 2015 election, President Goodluck Jonathan made a call on the 31st of March, 4 days after the election, to concede defeat to Muhammadu Buhari, the president-elect at the time. Goodluck Jonathan was really admired for that action, and ever since then, he has become the champion for the peaceful transition of power in Africa. But unlike Jonathan, the other presidential candidates are yet to concede. PDP and Labour Party members have been protesting the election results since the day of the election, so I guess they will all be having their day in court. While PDP and Labour Party leaders figure out what to say, Tinubu knows exactly what to say. Shortly after Tinubu was announced president-elect, he held a press conference at the APC Presidential Campaign Council headquarters in Abuja. During the event, the president-elect delivered a speech titled "The Era of Renewed Hope." In the speech, Tinubu thanked a bunch of people who contributed to the success of his campaign. He then had this to say about INEC.
I commend INEC for running a credible election. No matter what anybody says, it is. I never see any of you who did not make either arithmetic mistake or grammatical error in their classes.
So, is that what we are calling it now? Mathematical errors? Tinubu then went on to appeal to his fellow presidential contestants to work together with him to build the nation and work for national unity.
We must not act like that orchestra that has no direction of a conductor. We and we have elected a conductor.
Actually, Mr. President-elect Tinubu, the majority of the people who voted, that's over 15 million, do not want APC to conduct this orchestra. It just happens that due to the peculiarities of democratic elections, the will of 15 million people can be ignored. To conclude his speech, Tinubu had this to say to the youth of Nigeria.
We pay attention, undivided attention to your education. We will be creative. Credit will be available. Education loan will be available. 4 years course will be 4 years course. No more strike.
Education loan, Let's start with the children and grandchildren of the presidency and National Assembly. When they take out an education loan for education in Nigeria, the rest of us will follow. As for no more strikes, okay, we'll wait and see. While court cases are being filed, the president-elect will be preparing for his inauguration, which is scheduled for May 29. Shortly thereafter, he will make some critical appointments and will be watching closely to see who will be members of his cabinet. The president-elect is already receiving advice from various corners on what kind of government he should form. Some are advising him to form a government of national unity, which would be a coalition consisting of all the major parties, in this case PDP and Labour Party. However, at least one elder statesman, Alhaji Tanko Yakasai from the Arewa Consultative Forum, has advised President-elect Tinubu not to form a government of national unity. According to Yakasai, democracy is a business of competition, and that in order for democracy to develop, everybody should come with their own program. Yakasai said, and I quote, "After all, the electorate voted for him. Let him put his program into action. And where he concludes his own part, let the man coming after him build from where the previous man stopped. This is how you develop a country." Yakasai went on to say that his house was built in the same way. Okay, first of all, let me say this one more time in a different way. 63% of the electorate did not vote for President-elect Tinubu. 63%. Second of all, Alhaji Yakasai, with all due respect, if your house was built in the same way we are building Nigeria's democracy, you would not have a house to live in right now. Because after the guy who built the foundation is done, the next guy comes and he's supposed to build the walls. But instead of building the walls, he decides to tear up the foundation and move the project to a whole different location and start all over again. Nigeria's democracy is one step forward and 10 steps backward. Because when one guy gets in, he excludes everyone else and builds what he wants with his friends. And then when the next guy comes in, he demolishes what that guy did and starts all over again with his own friends. Our problem is that we are not working together. And yes, working together means that we will move much slower. It will take a lot longer to get things done when we're working together. But at least this way, even if we only take one step forward in 4 years, since we took that step together, the only direction to move is forward ever, backward never. That's all for tonight on Breaking. I'm Johnny Woody. Before I go, here's a clip from the President-elect's speech while receiving his certificate of return.
Very soon, this nation shall witness a young person standing before you, holding this great symbol of democracy and national leadership. We shall see a woman standing before you, holding this certificate as its owner. We shall experience someone from a tribe that many people have tried to dismiss.
One day, but not today.